Hello and welcome to the Neo Marketing Podcast. Winter is coming. Q4 2020, the most unpredictable year yet, which is why you need a plan for 2021.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of best practices, latest trends, and modern techniques for professional business communication, including advertising, marketing, digital channels, social media, public relations, and alternative options.
Good morning, Pritch. How are you today?
I'm great, Kyle. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Excited that Q4 is here.
Yeah.
The end of the business year, Q4 2020, which no one would argue has not been the most unpredictable and kind of apple cart turnover year of all time, right?
Worse than the Great Depression.
Right. So no one expected 2020 to turn out the way it did on January 1 of 2020, right? We all went into 2020 with a plan. And we've been saying since late February, early March, when all the changes happened with the discovery of COVID-19, the coronavirus was in other parts of the world. We knew it eventually would affect us here in the United States. It did.
It did.
We have the shutdowns. We have the mask requirements now. We have social distancing. We have occupancy levels. We have all the things that we've gone through in our society with our social lives, if you will.
Right.
And obviously, our business world has been turned upside down by all of these effects as well, right? There's also a lot of things happening right now as well. It's a presidential election year, which always affects business at some level. Right. And we have civil unrest, and we have all kinds of other things that are happening in the world on top of coronavirus.
Trade wars.
Exactly. So all of these things factor into, if you had a good plan coming into the year, that's great. You were ahead of everyone else, but you ultimately were going to have to change. But at least if whatever plan you had, there were remnants of it you could take and move forward with. If you didn't have a plan going into this year, you're probably out of business by now.
Yeah, maybe so. Exactly.
So we've been talking about since March and April about everyone needs to be very aggressive with adapt, adopt, or pivot.
Right.
And typically you would never hear us talk about pivoting fast and aggressively.
Right.
Your business pivot should always be slow and very thoughtful because you typically don't pivot back.
But in a past podcast, you talked about why it was necessary to do that quickly.
That's right. And 2020, all bets are off. All rules are off the table. Everything is different because of the speed of the coronavirus, all of the factors going into it. And then there's still a lot of uncertainty about how to come out of coronavirus, COVID-19. Now, one thing we do know is early November, in theory, hopefully, let's cross our fingers, we will know who our president is moving forward for the next 4 years. Whether it continues to be Donald Trump, whether it is Joe Biden, whether it's Kanye West.
Right. Had to throw that in.
He's on the ballot here in Oklahoma.
He is a candidate.
In like 5 states, I think.
Right.
Obviously, not Kanye West, but at least we will know who's in charge and what their theory is when it comes to business and regulation, all kinds of things like that. So there's some certainty. Typically, the markets calm down after presidential elections. So I'm going to count that as we're going to have some benefit of having the presidential election past us. And again, I hope we learn the day of or the next day who the president is.
No chance.
I wouldn't put money on that working out that way, but I really hope it works out that way.
Yeah, I do too.
We need it to work out that way, but I'm not expecting it to. At some point, we should get past the presidential elections. And we have clients that have been affected by tariffs and some trade regulations that have changed and with our relationship with China, some import-export, and some other people who've seen some benefits in different ways as well. So we've seen both sides of the coin of the current administration on how they're addressing business issues.
Right.
That could continue on, or we might have a different regime who has different ideas. So we'll have that past us, and at least we'll know what the theories are behind the federal government moving forward for the next 4 years. There's still a lot of uncertainty about coronavirus, COVID-19, all of the limitations to school, to work, to our social activities, and all of the things that we've done up to this point to sort of try to operate business in some sort of normalcy, considering all those things.
All right.
So right now, I'm telling you folks, right now, first week of Q4, you absolutely, positively should be making your plans for next year. 2021 has got to be on the table, number one. Number two, how you're going to evaluate 2020, what you're going to take from it, what you've learned from it, all the value that you've built up for 2020, the things that went well, the things that didn't, the things that were obviously unexpected. That's a big factor this year more than ever.
Right.
You need to be putting that into a format, a document, a conversation. The C-suite, the decision makers need to be talking about what's going well, what's not, what changes were made, what we're going to keep moving forward, et cetera, into 2021 so that you complete 2020 as strong as you possibly can.
Right.
And trust, for most of us, it is just surviving 2020.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, congratulations if you survived 2020. There are people who have thrived in the pandemic. I'm not mad at them. I'm good on you. But if we go back to our normal, what would their business model look like, et cetera? And so what I really want to warn people on, this is the piece of advice I want to give you, and then I'm going to break down how to do that, is don't think because 2020 was such a bizarre year.
Right.
And because we just said all the rules are off the table, right? But don't use that as an excuse not to do the work.
Right.
The end of year strong. Take the data from it, take the information from it, do a good job of ending this year, taking the value you've gained from it and moving forward and then planning for next year. So I'm going to give you guys some steps on how to do that. Specific steps, some tactics, some execution on that and the theory behind it. But don't think that you could skip it this year. Nope. This isn't the excuse. Nope. I'm not giving you an excuse to skip your 2021 planning and ending 2020 correctly. In fact, it's more important this year than ever before.
Well, and we've talked about the fact that we're going to enter 2021 in basically the COVID world.
Yes.
And hopefully at some point in 21, we'll start to transition out of that.
Right. And so that uncertainty is the problem.
It's still there.
But we also know trying to address uncertainty without a rock solid plan doesn't get you anywhere. Right. It's the backwards way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
So first of all, like I said earlier, we've been telling you all year, adapt, adopt, and pivot. So I'll quickly go back through that. We have full podcasts on what that means. But adapt. Every business has had to add things to what they were doing or stop doing things, adapt their business model day to day. And a lot of it was internal. Some of it was external. Some of it was sales process. A lot of it was marketing, about adapting and changing the way they did things. It's just what you had to do in order to move forward, because you couldn't have your retail space open. You couldn't have your restaurant open. You couldn't have certain people in the building or numbers of people. You know, one of our clients is in the concert production industry. They produce concerts. They they had a huge change, right? So adapt is adding to or taking away things that you do in your normal run of business, internal and external. Adopt, adding things to your business model. A great example of this is everyone who went to online ordering or online retail. If you went straight from brick and mortar e-commerce to e-commerce, or added e-commerce as a hybrid mix, that was adopt. Is adopting those things and adding to. The key now is, listen to me folks, the key, what you've adapted and adopted, don't be super quick to try to go back to not doing those things anymore. And you've invested time, money, and effort into it, so you really need to go long on these things because you're involved and invested in them.
Well, in many cases, they've made, once things return to some semblance of normal, there'll be added value.
Yes, added value, or it's possible that your business model is now different.
Right.
And the world demands it, and if it works and it's profitable and you can function with it, and that's how society wants it now, that's how your audience wants it, then you have to embrace that. You can't be stubborn about, I want to go back to the way I used to do business. If your audience is supporting this and whatever you've adapted and adopted to, and it's profitable for you.
Right.
And if going back is less profitable for you, then you need to stay where you're at.
Right.
So don't be too quick.
That's the whole reason for what you're talking about today. That is looking at it hard.
Yes.
Planning.
Yes. Evaluate. Your measurements, your evaluations, what's working, what's not. If it's not working, why? 80-20 rule, right? 80% of what works, 20% experimentation, probably 50-50 this year, maybe even 80-20 the other way. With some experimentation.
Right.
But watching what other people are doing that's successful, best practices, and those best practices changed on the fly this year. But some people went out there fast. They got it done right. The rest of us can see what they're doing, learn from it, and then use that, adapt and adopt in our business models as well. So that's what you need to be doing. So watch people that successfully transition during the COVID-19 scenario. What did they do? How did they do it? And how can you adapt those ideas, steal from the best, right, to your business model?
Right.
That's the conversation you have to be having in Q4 right now is what have we done well? What have other people done better? What can we learn from this? What's the comparison? And how do we make our plan to move forward?
Bam.
So you have created new tools, new sales opportunities, new transactional channels, all kinds of things to go around what you used to do with in-person or brick and mortar scenarios.
Right.
A lot more online ordering, retails, etc. So don't be quick to let those tools go. In fact, be very slow to let those tools go because, like I said earlier, you've invested time, effort. You've trained your staff up on them. You maybe even gone through 2 or 3 like maybe the first e-commerce platform didn't work for you. Maybe the first ordering software or the apps you were using or the technology wasn't up to par, and you had to make a change. You had to switch from A to B, maybe even to C.
Yeah.
Don't lose all of that investment in the research, in the trial and error, in the training of your staff, and the training of your audience. If you've gotten your audience to the point now where they understand how it works, they understand the expectations of how your business is working, your new hours, the new way, all of these things. If your audience followed you there, you don't want to whiplash them back the other direction.
Well, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you had to pivot, and some people did have to pivot in 2020 unexpectedly and rapidly, which typically is a death sentence for a business pivot. And definitely young, early stage and startup businesses had to make some serious pivots in order to survive 2020.
Right.
If you made that pivot and you survived, good on you, congratulations. If your business went out this year, if you went bankrupt, if you went under this year, I'm very sorry to hear that, but it's very likely because you couldn't commit to a full pivot. And the industry you're in and the way that you used to transact business just went away because of COVID-19.
Right.
And I'm sorry that happened to you, but if you still haven't pivoted and your business is completely walking away from you right now, make that pivot right now today. Absolutely do not wait. Make it happen if you want your business to survive, because we're not going to pivot back anytime soon.
Right.
Like you just said, we know we're going to go into early 2021 with COVID-19, but we don't know how we're going to manage coming back out of it. Maybe fast, maybe slow, maybe starts fast, and
it slows
maybe
down.
we contract, right? We just
Maybe
don't
2
know.
steps
And that,
forward, a step and a half
right.
back.
Uncertainty is always bad for business.
Yep.
So if you haven't pivoted, but you need to, go ahead now, because the idea that I'll just wait because I don't need the pivot. Yes, you do. Pivot right now. Pivot quickly. Be done with it. Commit to it. Hope it works, or ultimately you're going to go into business anyways.
Right. So that's for businesses that are struggling right now.
Yes.
Businesses that have successfully done it need to be very careful about pivoting back.
Yes. And again, so in the past, in a normal business scenario, I tell you, we say you want to go into a pivot very slowly because you can't pivot back. Well, right now, the idea is you potentially can, but you want to take that philosophy of going slowly, pivoting back. And it goes back to what we were just saying earlier. You've added all these things, and your audience has changed their expectation of doing business with you. So don't whiplash them by pivoting back immediately, unless the pivot allowed you to survive and not necessarily thrive, just get by. And if the world goes back to what we would call normal or pre-COVID, that pivot back is highly profitable for you. Then, and the problem is, we don't know if the back to normal will stick.
Right.
And so,
and it's going to be a new normal.
It will be. And
we don't know what it's going to be like.
Will never be 2019 again.
Nope.
Absolutely won't be 20. Nope. Get that through your heads, folks. Even if we go back to what we would call normal, I'm doing the air quotes, normal.
Right.
Even if we do normal, if we get back to full occupancy and we're doing brick and mortar and we're doing in person and we're doing large group and all of that stuff, there's still going to be some limitations.
People are getting hired back. Right?
There's still going to be some limitations. There's still going to be some different expectations from your audience. There still may be people that just say, I've gotten used to having delivery. I'm going to have everything delivery now. There are going to be people, and honestly, people of a certain age, or if they have the comorbidities, the other health issues with them, there are a group of people who will never go to a restaurant ever again, never go to a concert, never go to a sporting event, never go to anything with more than 20 people in the room. And that's fine. That's do that, protect your own health, and if your business is necessary to have those people in the room and they're not coming, you need to be careful.
Right.
You may assume it's highly profitable to go back to the way you were doing it before. Be thoughtful. That's why a plan is super important. That's why research, process, planning. That's why this is all super important. So what we have now is, because you've adapted, adopted, and pivoted, or your business just got lucky enough to be able to survive, but you still are doing things differently. There's just no doubt about it. There's working from home. There's different hours. Your staff has to deal with educating their kids at home, things like that. There's a lot of it. I don't think there's anyone that's just simply, we just do what we've always done. There's some adaptation, internal or external, no matter what. So you have new tools in place. You have new technology, new tools, hardware, software, connectivity, smartphones, all the devices, internet connectivity, all of these things that are allowing people to work from home, allowing them to work flexible schedules, allowing our audience to continue to do business with us. Keep those tools. As long as they're profitable, keep them around as long as you can until they become unprofitable. Then you can let them go. Not immediately, not the first week that they're unprofitable, not the first month they're unprofitable, not even the first quarter they are. But that's when you begin the conversation of letting those tools slide off. Once people stop using them, let the audience, let the market dictate how quickly you go back to the old ways of doing things. Again, air quotes, old ways of doing things. So new tools are in place. New processes, new ways of looking at how we do business, new thoughts, new insights, new tactics. All of this is new because of the adapt, adopt, and pivot of coronavirus COVID-19 in 2020. Keep as much of that as possible. Keep an open mind. You're not going to evaluate the end of 2020 the way you would evaluate any other year, but there, like any other evaluation, there is positive and there is negative. There's things you did well. There's things you could do better. There's things that you failed out miserably. Everyone fails. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not just you. It's all of us. It just happens. There are things that unexpectedly did better than you thought, things that did unexpectedly worse than you thought. That's still the evaluation process for 2020, the same way you would evaluate any other year. Right. What went well, what didn't, what can we do going forward? But more than anything else before, because we've adapted, we've pivoted, we have new insights, we have new tools, we might even have new audiences because we've attracted people in different ways because people are looking for alternatives to how they used to do things. We have all this in place. So the idea of pivoting back needs to be super slow and paying attention to the fact that whatever becomes normal this month may not become normal next month in 2021. It's going to be a slow process that could go back and forth. Right. With all of that in mind, and you want to recoup your investment. Every change you made this year cost you time, money, effort. Right. You want to recoup all of that as much as possible. So going into 2021, you have to have a plan based on the evaluation of 2020. And I just gave you all the factors that go into that evaluation. Typically, you go into a new year with a solid, developed strategy based on what you've done in the past, strengths and weaknesses, all the stuff that's in your business plan, and this evaluation that we've just been talking about, right? Here's the difference for 2021. You need a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and maybe even a plan D. Right. Plan A is if we get to go back to what we're calling normal. And we just said it'll never be fully normal. It won't ever be 2019, 2018 normal again. But going back to what you would consider normal should be plan A. The positive outlook. We're going to get through this and survive and do better. Plan B, of course, should be a little bit less positive, a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more conservative view on maybe some things go well, but not everything, and what we need to hold back and how we can be cautious and be very judicious in our approach for the next year. And see, so now follow this path. Plan C is, of course, a lot more cautious, a lot more restrained, and a lot more maybe nothing changes. And Plan D is things get worse. Right. You have to consider all these things. And typically you would consider, hey, what if business goes up next year? What if business goes down next year, right? This year for 2021, as you end 2020, you evaluate 2020 and at the end of Q4. As you make your plans for 2021, I challenge all of you to sit down with your leadership team, your C-suite, your decision makers, the people you trust in your organization, and designate someone to be plan A and drive it. someone to drive plan B, someone to drive plan C, someone the best to worst case scenarios. This is more work than you would ever normally do, but it's more necessary than it's ever been.
Yep.
And so right now, as you end the year, the fourth quarter, we're at the end of the year, we're on the downward slope. We're going to get in the holidays soon. We all know how crazy things get in the holidays. You get the first of the year, the presidential election's happening, all this. So right now, today, whatever day you're hearing this podcast, you're watching the video, whatever it is, I'm pointing at the camera, I'm talking directly into this microphone, I'm challenging you. Get the team together now.
Yep.
In fact, you're already a little behind. But don't panic. We're here to help you figure out how to move it forward. Get the team together. Lay out all the conversation we just said. Let's look at 2020. Let's evaluate. Let's take the good stuff. Let's learn from the bad stuff. How do we move forward in 2021, and who is going to drive the idea of plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D? Who is best case scenario? Who's worst case scenario? Put it all on the table now while you don't have pressure, you don't have stress, you don't have a decision that you have to make in the next 5 minutes or 5 days or this week or this month, because we're talking about next year. But if you put the plan in place, you put your processes in, you put the data behind it, you put the analysis behind it, when you get either things started going really well, we got to make some decisions on how to keep that going, or things are going really bad, we're getting kicked in the face. How do we make decisions to contract back and survive? Those decisions are less emotional and better informed in 2021 if you do the planning right now today, without the stress and pressure of time and the factors being at your front door.
Right. Bam.
So
Great advice.
That's the thing. So I'm going to leave you guys with this, because I obviously believe in strategic planning and forecasting and looking out ahead of yourself. That's what we do all day, every day. I love doing it. That's why I do it, right?
Right.
I believe in it. I believe in the value of it. I believe
absolutely.
that you create a stronger business opportunity, potential for success, potential for profitability, which means you can survive when things go bad, like this year. If you've been profitable up to COVID-19, that's probably how you got through COVID-19, was draining those coffers. So now you have to rebuild them. I believe in this. I support this. I think this is super essential. You guys have to do this right now. You can't wait. You can't get behind. You can't wait. And you can't get too rosy on the outlook that, no, let's just plan for how everything works and move forward. Have to have a plan for how things are going to work and how you would take that and expand upon it, make it work better. You have to figure out how to muddle through and to survive 2021 if you have to, and you have to make a plan on how you would keep the business viable if things go completely negative, because there is no new normal. So this is the ending. Because I hate that. Stop using the term new normal. It's not new, and it's not normal.
And it's not normal.
And every day is a new normal because every day, every situation changes. It's easy to look at coronavirus right now and go, well, that's what changed. But before that, there were all kinds of other things that changed as well. Geopolitical influences, the market, technology, personality, the media, opportunities. All these things change you every day anyways. And so normal is always new. It's always moving forward in that way. The new normal because of COVID-19 or because of mask regulations or because of a new president or a continuation of the current administration, whatever it is, these aren't new normals. Stop using that term. Instead, just think in the sense of putting together as much information as possible, analyze it when there's no stress and pressure on you, when you have the freedom to do that, to be analytical with it, give yourself options, create a plan with as much structure as possible, so when things go well or things go bad, you exactly know what to do, not an emotional response. Put that stuff in play. Get your team involved. Take every bit of input you can. Take input from your audience. Look at all the things. Look at your sales numbers, but look at your interactions. Look at just direct conversations with your employees, with your collaborators, your subcontractors, with everyone you do business with, and your customers, and your audience, and those sales numbers. And you put it all together and figure out what you do well, what you didn't do as well, how to move forward, make a plan, and at some point when we go back to normal, not a new normal, but normal, because that will be normal moving forward. It'll be normal Q1 2021. Right. It'll be normal Q2 2021. Moving on, right? 2025 will be a normal, not a new normal, a normal for that time period, whatever happens in between now and then. But keep moving forward with thoughtful planning, with as much data as possible, with as much analysis as possible, with as much input from the people that are important for your business to operate as possible, internal and external. Make a plan, stick to the plan as long as you can until you're forced to not stick to the plan. Have your alternatives in place, understand how to make the decisions before you need to make the decisions, and then next year, through that process, into Q1, into Q2, half year, into Q3, back to Q4 this time next year when you're reviewing the whole year for 2021, continue to review, to refine, to continue to do better, to adapt, adopt, and if you have to, pivot, depending on what the factors will be in 2021 as opposed to 2020.
Yeah, there you go. Great advice.
I was going to say, it's just that simple. I just talked for like 4 straight minutes about 45 steps on how to do it. So it's obviously not that simple, but it's also not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We've been doing this forever, running businesses, right? This is how we create business plans. This is how we create business strategy. This is how we create campaign strategy within the larger strategy, right? This is how we can create campaigns, sub-campaigns, all of the factors that go into how we run a business, how we market, we communicate, we do our public relations, all of the things that we manage well in a business, we have a plan for. We have a plan, we have a process, we have steps, we have evaluations, and we decide what works well and what doesn't work well, right? That's the basic way of saying how to move forward. The key, I'm going to leave you on this, 2 things. It's not a new normal, so get that out of your head. And make a plan, have a plan, put it in place, and be as thoughtful as possible. And your business or nonprofit or organization or civic group or personal brand has an opportunity to come through this at least good or okay, possibly better, and possibly positioned to move forward in a great way, because that's what things will look like in the future. That will be normal.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And with that, until we see you again here on the Neo Marketing Podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you leave comments for us. Find us on social media. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, what you want to hear more of, less of. If you want more detail, you can email us directly. You can find the contact button on our website, thegoldengroup.com. Anywhere you found this podcast, you can find links back to us, social media, the website itself. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, you agree, disagree, what topics you want to hear from us. But more than anything else, subscribe, number 1. Number 2, please leave a rating or a review, especially if you like us.
Right.
Because that will help other people find the Neo Marketing Podcast. Until we talk to you again, good luck.
Ciao.
This has been the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend, leave a review, and engage with us on social media. Thanks for listening.